Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Wayne County. We are a diverse congregation that welcomes you as you are, regardless of your age, ethnicity, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, economic status, or physical ability. We come together to seek a deeper meaning and understanding from each other and the world around us. Your presence here today is a gift that brings us closer to that understanding. We are an active community that lives its values beyond the hours of Sunday service, and I would call your attention to the following. Water Communion is September 10th, and we encourage you to bring a small container of water that is special to you. Next Sunday, also September 10th, we have our Landscape Day after the service. Come in your outdoor gear and help beautify the grounds. If you have any questions, please contact Mary Gentry. Coffee with the Minister is back, starting September 10th as well. If you are newer to the fellowship and would like to learn more about us and our faith, you're welcome to join Reverend Walter shortly after the service in his office to ask questions. If you'd like to find out more about our activities, feel free to ask Karen Skubik, our membership coordinator.
Thank you, Jean.
No.
Hello, hello? No. Now it is okay, thank you. Well, good morning all, and yes, I'd like to welcome visitors. I know Walter will be introducing someone special to him, but is there anyone else who is new here? I don't think I see anyone, but in case I'm missing you, is there anyone who's never introduced themselves and they would like to? And then we can talk to you a little bit after the service if you would like us to. And I don't see anybody, so you can take it away, Walter.
I'll continue to use this microphone. So, I want to introduce a visitor, someone who's special to me. My niece is here and visiting from Indianapolis, Indiana. She is born and raised in the UU Church, and her family is very near and dear to me. They're the ones who introduced me to Unitarian Universalism. So, Arabella, do you want to just stand up and wave? Come on, you said I could do this. Yeah. Everybody give Arabella a round of applause. Be sure to ask her lots of awkward questions after the service about what it's like to be that tall and what it's like to be a lifelong UU, and I promise she will not tell you any embarrassing stories about me and our times at the cottage, right? Yeah, she will. Thank you. Thank you for coming here this weekend. This is a long weekend. This is a day where it's so easy to stay in bed. This is a day where it's so easy to just say, you know what, I need to pick up some extra hot dogs and hamburgers for the grill out tomorrow. This is a day where we could so easily get lost. Thank you for taking time to center. Thank you for taking time to come together in community. Thank you for being here for each other. Now, join me in the spirit of worship. Silence your cell phones. Open your hearts.
Our chalice lighting this morning is called Invocation by Angela Herrera. Don't leave your broken heart at the door. Bring it to the altar of life. Don't leave your anger behind. It has high standards, and the world needs vision. Bring them with you, and your joy and your passion. Bring your loving and your courage and conviction. Bring your need for healing and your power to heal. There is work to do, and you have all that you need to do it right here in this room. Let us rise in body and spirit as we sing our opening hymn, For All That Is Our Life, number 128 in the Great Hymnal.
Good morning. It is a beautiful Sunday morning. It is going to get hot. So let us take a minute, breathe deep, enjoy the air conditioning while we have it. Join me in the spirit of meditation and of prayer. It is a scary place for a lot of us. For the past few weeks, it seems to me it has been one disaster after another. Hawaii, Florida, Arizona. It is like the earth is crying out for mercy. And it feels so small to be in this tempest. It feels like there is nothing any one of us can do. And that's right. Not one of us alone can do a thing. But just as we have gathered here in this space, just as we have brought our hearts together for worship, we can bring our hearts together for justice, to save our planet, to advocate for it, to show that we can be stewards of this earth. We pray that those in power listen. We pray that the planet is heard. We pray for sanity, for safety, and for solace for us in this world. May it be so. We are a congregation that loves each other fiercely. There is no denying that. And one of the greatest ways to show love is to celebrate each other's victories. We hold in our hearts Vicky Dutter, who is recovering from knee surgery. And she put it off for quite some time because she was scared about the recovery being rough, and she was right. Encouragement, cards, thoughts of love are appreciated. She is a tough woman, and she will be back. And a little love while we wait for her return is always appreciated. And speaking of a little love, there is a great joy. I love a good marriage. I'm not going to deny it. And so when I hear that a couple has been together for 56 years, after dating for 3 weeks, Helen and Jean Myers celebrated their 56th anniversary on Wednesday. Yeah. They said the secret was to get married early so you spend the first 10 years getting to know each other. And I think you're right. Getting to know each other, getting to love each other, being able to find someone who will put up with all of your idiosyncrasies and being able to find joy and love in them. And isn't that why we are all here? To find someone who will love us for who we are. Congratulations. And thank you for blessing us with your presence. We all come into this building with our different joys and our different sorrows that weigh on us. For those of us who have joys that lighten our step, who want to share that ray of 56 years of love, if you've got a joy, I encourage you while we sing Spirit of Life to come, grab a stone, think of that joy, and place it in the water. And if something weighs on your heart, something that can be too hard to put into words, I encourage you to come up, place that worry on this stone, and let it go. And I will be here. And if you want me to contact you later, if you want to talk, just come take my hands, and I will come and get in contact with you later. For I want to know what I can do, what we can do to lighten your burdens. Please join me now as we sing together, Spirit of Life.
It has been said that faith without works is dead. As Unitarian Universalists, we believe in doing the work, no matter the source of your faith. The offering we are about to collect funds the works both within our community and beyond these walls. All donations collected today that are not specifically marked otherwise will be split with People-to-People Ministries. People-to-People Ministries is a nonprofit ministry that offers food, shelter, and clothing to people in need. We thank you for your donation toward the mission and vision of this community. The offering will now be collected and gratefully received. Please join me in this unison reading. The words are on the screen. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share our gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so that we may learn from the generosity of others. Our reading is by Ray Bradbury, an excerpt from Fahrenheit 451. Everyone must leave something behind when he dies, my grandfather said. A child, or a book, or a painting, or a house, or a wall built, or a pair of shoes made, or a garden planted. Something your hand touched some way, so your soul has somewhere to go when you die. And when people look at that tree or that flower you planted, you're there. It doesn't matter what you do, he said, so long as you change something from the way it was before you touched it into something that's like you after you take your hands away.
It is amazing how many hobbies involve working with your hands and getting your hands dirty. For me, the first one that comes to my mind when it talks about getting your hands dirty, and it's probably the first one that comes to my mind because it's the most UU hobby, gardening. Where are my gardeners at? Oh, come on. All right, so like all of you. Where are my master gardeners? The ones who did the 50 hours certification. All right, 1, 2. All right, little one over there. Excellent. Good work. 3, 4. Did I miss anyone? All right. I swear, you used to have more master gardeners per capita than any denomination. Right? There is something about digging in the soil that just delights people. to start with this small, insignificant seed and to end up with this beautiful flower, or even better yet, tomato, is nothing short of a miracle of nature. And I can see why all of you love to be involved in that process. I often hear you gardeners, because I am not one of you, say in late winter, early spring, I cannot wait to get my hands dirty. Personally, as a kid, gardening's a chore. That's my opinion. And if it makes you happy, that's all on you, more power to you. And that is not to say I am someone who shies away from getting my hands dirty. I happen to have two hobbies that get my hands rather dirty. One of them, most of you probably figured out, is the pottery. Not only do I get my hands dirty, but on that wheel, it splatters everywhere. So I get my hands, my shirt, my pants, and my shoes dirty. And after I'm on the wheel, I have to take a shower because somehow I get clay behind my ear, and I get clay on my nose. And I know why I get clay on my nose. It's because right when I put my hands in the center of that and they're at their worst, my nose itches. Right? So clay, that is something that I do. Love to get my hands dirty. The other one, some of you may know, I love to bake. My wife would tell you I do not nearly bake enough. And I love to get my hands into the flour and into the dough, right? And after 30 seconds of turning that dough out onto the counter and kneading, I am covered in flour. And 30 seconds into it, my nose again will itch. But with both of these hobbies, and I'm sure so many of you get this feeling, sometimes you do get that itch. Not your nose, but your hands. I need to do something with my hands. I need to get in the dirt. I need to get in the kitchen. I need to do something with my hands. But there are so many hobbies, and they make a mess of our hands. I have a good friend who is a contractor, who always seems to be mowing, mudding, cutting, doing something with his hands. So it's no wonder that they are covered in grease, sawdust, or spackle at nearly all times. And when he's not working, guess what he's doing? What he should be doing, what his hobby is. He's a painter. Not houses, oil paint. Canvases. Not a clean hobby. Scrapbooking and calligraphy surprisingly get your hands messed up. Maybe you think like calligraphy with ink, but what about scrapbooking? Have you ever managed paper for a long time? What happens to your hands? They get dried out, right? And when you're messing with all that paper and you're playing with your hands, you are looking for a paper cut if they're that dry, and it will happen. Trust me, I've done my fair share of scrapbooking, right? Where are my sewers? Where are my seamstresses, sewers, seamers, right? Textile workers. Tell me that doesn't dry out your hands, right? I know all about that stuff. It messes up your hands, and I swear I've never met a seamstress who didn't have thick calluses on their fingers from finding where the needle needs to go. My guitar players. Where are my guitar players? I know I saw Mike here. There's Carter. I hate when I'm supposed to have a thought in the middle of a sermon. That did not sound right. But you ever seen guitar players, right? Their fret hand. Thick calluses. Messing up their hands. I did photography back in the Stone Age when you needed chemicals, right? The chemicals can mess up your hands. Yes, I know. You're supposed to use tongs, and sometimes you get carried away. There is something about these hobbies, these need to create, that not only invites us to get a little dirty, to take a few risks, but it celebrates that. And this goes for hobbies that aren't necessarily hand-based. Things like hiking or mountain biking, dancing, acting, swimming, other things that are sport-like. For so many of us, the act of creating excites us to the point where we don't mind a little dirt or sweat. In fact, we enjoy it. We just want to be involved. We want to be in the act. We love the labor. Now, a few of you may be thinking, I hate the labor. I garden because I love fresh, ripe tomatoes. You want to point to the end results as why you do this work. None of you here, I do not see the Gochenhauers, none of you here grow produce solely for the food. That's not gardening, that's farming. That is different, right? You do not grow because you want to save money on produce. Because if you do a cost-effective analysis of how much you spend on fertilizer and weed killer or organic weed killer, or the hours involved doing all of that work, you are not going to save money as opposed to if you go to Bueller's and buy those tennis balls that they call tomatoes. Yes, yours do taste better, but do they taste better because you raised them or because you know the process of them and they were fully grown up in this organic setting? And the other thing I will say about this, gardeners, none of you have ever eaten all of your crops all by yourself. All of you gardeners, how many of you have to give away half of your zucchini or tomatoes or peppers because you have way too much and you will never be able to put them all up in time? Do none of you give your stuff away? Oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong farming crowd. You are farmers, okay. The mugs that I make, I don't point to these things as the reason why I do this, right? I got news for you folks. I have had enough mugs ever since I was 16 years old. I swear I was born with a set of mugs. I do not need any more. If you want to do a cost-effective analysis of my time at the studio, the amount I spent on clay versus going to the big box store and buying the cheapest mug possible, guess which one's going to win? It is cheaper these days to buy than to make. That wasn't always so. That wasn't always so. But for so many of us, we enjoy the end product more because our hands have been on it than what it is itself. We enjoy the product because of the process that was behind it. We enjoy what we made because of the labor, because we know the energy. Labor is something that has always been very near and dear to my heart. My mother was a laborer. I can say was because she retired finally. She was a seamstress who made window treatments. Do not call them curtains. She worked in a small shop that sold high-end fabric to high-end clients who wanted high-end window treatments for their high-end homes. They would come into her store, find this fabric that they absolutely loved, had to have, pick it out, and they would ask my mother, how much do I need for these windows that are X by X by X? And she would say X number of yards. They would buy it, and then they go, do you know a place where I could get these made? Well, as a matter of fact, I could do that under the table for you. So during the week, my mother sold the fabric, and on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, she spent all day sewing in our living room, moving all the furniture around and digging those straight pins deep into the shag carpet for me to find later. My stepfather My stepfather is a laborer too. He worked on the machine shop floor for a company called Lord's. Any of you familiar with a company called Lord's? They make airplane parts. And any of you know anything about machine work, right? You have to get X number of pieces an hour. And in that amount of time, if you are doing a repetitive process, scrap will happen. You will make mistakes. And so they build in your scrap percentage with your total pieces and all of that to figure out what you will make. My stepfather had the lowest scrap rate on the floor for the plant of Lord's. He was also the slowest. So, you can laugh about that. It's true. He's methodical. But let me ask you this. Next time you're on a plane, do you want your part made fast or right? And some of those plane parts that they made at Lord's were for government contracts. And the pieces were uber expensive. So expensive that the scrap rate needed to be 0. Guess who was asked to do those parts? He's retired now. Can you imagine a man who was used to working with his hands for 40-some years retiring? What does he do now? Now that he's 80 years old. He gardens. Because of course he does. I have a bunch of his tomatoes at my home right now because he had too many of them. He has to have the beds raised up. Because any of you know that once you hit a certain point in time in your life, getting down on the ground to garden isn't too bad. Getting back up, however, might take a few days. And he lives in Erie, so that means he can only garden for like 5 weeks of the year. What does he do with his spare time? He builds Lego sets. He builds Lego sets. This is a man who has lived through his hands. This is a man who has created so many useful and beautiful things that you could very easily say his ability to create defines who he is to himself. Not what he creates, his ability to create. There is a difference. Labor. To celebrate Labor Day is to celebrate the creators of our world that bring us the lives we enjoy, who bring us the work of their hands, who use their time, their energy, and sweat for our benefit, and dare I say, for our comfort so often. And the best way to celebrate those who work with their hands, who put that energy out, is to pay them what they're worth. But Walter, some of you may be thinking, if they love this so much, isn't that enough of a reward? If they love the work so much, isn't it okay if they don't get paid quite that much? Sound familiar? It's called taking advantage. There is one profession where I hear this excuse all the time. They love the work, so it's okay to underpay them. I can think of 2, actually. Anybody want to guess what the main one is that I'm thinking of? Teaching. My wife raised her hand and somebody else said it. Thank you, Peg, and I could tell you were thinking it. And I saw a couple other of you who were thinking it too. Guess what I'm thinking the second one is? Nursing. Exactly. What do we know about these 2 positions? Women. They are positions that highlight a certain sort of nurturing energy, which our culture has a tendency to diminish as not being valuable. Pink-collar jobs, and how they are traditionally underpaid. And if you think about it, it is the most insidious idea in our culture. Think about it. You love your job. You love doing what you're doing. So that means we can underpay you, right? That means in order to be paid a fair wage, you have to what? Not love what you're doing. In order for you to earn a fair wage, you have to suffer. Think about the message that sends. Think about the message. I know a lot of people with that mindset, that I have to suffer in order to make a living. These people, they're some of the hardest working people I know. And I know some people who've never had that mindset. I know some people, and I'm sure some of you here feel this way, I feel this way. Some people say, I love my job. I love doing what I do. I do love doing what I do. And a lot of times people who say that are people who are fairly compensated. You don't hear people say, I love my job when they've been eating ramen for a week. You don't hear people say, I love my job when they skip going to the doctors because they can't afford the copay, or they don't even have insurance. You don't hear people say, I love my job when they have to split medication. You love your job when you are working to live. And it can be hard to love your job when you are working to survive. Labor, in all of its forms, is a divine act. Whether it is making a really wonky-looking ceramic mug, growing that perfect ripe tomato, making a beautiful quilt or an airplane part, that act of labor is divine and has value. Whether you are making a venti half-calf oat milk 2-pump sugar-free vanilla latte or a quarter pounder with cheese, whether you are making sure that somebody has a friendly transaction at a cash register, that work is just as divine, is just as worthy, and is just as needed of being respected and compensated fairly. There is enough wealth in this country to make sure all who work are compensated fairly. End statement. And who knows? Maybe if we took that idea to heart, maybe if we truly respected all who labor in all of their ways, and maybe if we paid them a living wage, maybe if we treated them with dignity and respect, maybe they would enjoy their jobs. And maybe all of us would enjoy our lives just a little more if we honored and valued each other's labor to the fullest. May it be so. Please join me now in a joyful song. We will be singing We'll Build a Land, number 121 in your gray hymnals. We'll be doing verses 1, 2, and 4 if you're keeping up in the book. And if you're keeping up on the screen, we'll be doing the verses that you see. Please rise and body your spirit.
Land that can
So before we extinguish our chalice, I have never heard you all sing before. I just realized I'm a little bit of a loud singer. Y'all may have noticed. And when I took a sip of water, I heard you all singing. And it is the most beautiful sound. You all are amazing. Thank you. Our benediction today is actually by Atina O'Danner, and it's called Prayer for Artists. Blessed be the persistent. May we honor the routines. Blessed be the audacious. May we take risks. Blessed be the humble. May we learn to fail and learn from failure. Blessed be the curious. May we play and discover. Blessed be community. May we turn towards each other. Go in peace, my friends.